This Monday night, we're sending you back to the podcast.
Oh, jeez. Hey.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Josh Delgado. I'm here with my sister, Glenda Delgado.
Did you
We got
say
a new episode
assistant?
for you. Yeah, sister. Maybe I did. I don't know. Sister. Get to work. Hey,
Dang.
you work for Robert, so you know I got a good one then.
I
All
have
right,
some experience.
Yeah, I know. I got two kind of breaking news before we get to our stories. One, Tom Holland resigns for Spider-Man. This we know he was talking about taking a long break.
Wow.
He's officially back as Spider-Man. They don't know for how many movies, but at least we have one more as far as we know.
Okay.
So that's good to hear. And this one, Ryan Reynolds. Deadpool 3 is going to be his last, apparently. That's what he's saying. Which is
Really?
interesting
Oh.
because he just announced he got Hugh Jackman back.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's going to be his last is kind of interesting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this movie's going to be too tamed, or why does it say
You think
every
it'll
time
be
I
tamed?
upgrade it? Well, it's Marvel now. Before it was Fox. So it's Marvel now. So it's curious to see, like, maybe he's not coming back because this movie that they're working on is going to be too tamed or something, that this is going to be his last movie. All of a sudden, it's his last movie. This dude's been all about Deadpool. Now it's going to be his last movie. It's kind of weird. Maybe feels just getting too old, or Marvel's are kind of worried, like, maybe this new one's not going to be, like, you know, as good as the last two.
Really?
It's a little weird.
You think it means all that?
Yeah. All of a sudden, it's his last Deadpool. What the fuck? It's weird.
I don't know. Who knows? Everybody has their reasons. Maybe he's just over it. Or who knows, maybe it could be a lot of things. Maybe he wants more creative control. Maybe he wants, I don't know, or maybe they're offering him something else that we don't know about. Maybe he's going to come back as a Green Lantern.
No, hell no. Hell no. Nobody wants that. He doesn't even want that.
You think that he would have gone on forever to do this? Like, you think he would have gone
not forever,
beyond?
but he's only done 2 movies.
Yeah, but this would be number 3. Like, a trilogy is good, no? A trilogy, I feel like you're all set. I mean, I would want to keep going if I were him.
Well, he's restarting. He's in a different universe, so it's not even a real trilogy. It's not really going to connect.
We'll see. I don't. So you're okay. So wait, you're saying that the story is going to be completely different because he's going to be in a new universe?
We're in the multiverse, so he'll probably be the same Deadpool. But their universe is already messed up because none of it really makes sense. But he'll be the same Deadpool, but I don't know. It's weird, dude.
It's going to be okay, Josh.
Stupid.
It'll still be
It could be a trick. It's probably a trick.
Are you afraid they won't show his pee-pee again?
Dude, what are you talking about? I'm gonna cut that out.
I'm glad they. Are you afraid that it's not going to be as like gory? Like, who's directing it?
What? I don't even know. That's a good question.
I think. Okay, no, never mind.
Maybe,
I was gonna say,
maybe they're keeping the Deadpool 2 director who did John Wick. I don't know.
oh,
But it's definitely not gonna.
the guy that directed Deadpool 2 directed John Wick?
There's one of the two. There's 2 directors, so one of the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But obviously it's not going to be as violent, or I don't know if it'll be as funny.
Why do you say that's obvious,
see.
though? Who knows? Like, I feel like they gotta keep.
It's Marvel. That's why we know it's Marvel.
I know, but still.
We already knew what was going on when they tried that Disney. Deadpool 2 had 2 versions. They released a second version during Christmas. So test run, and I don't know. I don't think anybody cares for that version.
Exactly.
We'll see what happens.
I feel like they're smart enough to know it is Marvel, and I feel like, and it's Disney, and what do? Try to cater to their fans. So I feel like they know that there's already a built-in fan base for Deadpool, and there's already all these rumblings of how Marvel is playing it so safe. Like, we got to start. And I feel like they're playing with that, right? I feel like Doctor Strange, they're not pushing it far, right? But they're pushing it. They're doing a little more than they were before. I think they're trying to test the waters because they know they need to evolve as a brand, and people are asking for more. Like I feel like it's all like there's already a lot of rumblings about that. That Marvel isn't pushing as far as it should. So we'll see. I feel like they're so about like, oh, let's just do what the fans want, and yeah, they mess up when it comes to that, but I feel like with Deadpool, they already have two films. They already know what the fans like and what this built-in fan base wants. So to change that would be really weird.
It's like you said last week, DC goes darker.
Yes.
And the fact that he's not coming, there's smoke, there's fire. He's not coming back. That's just weird. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, he's not that old.
Did he say why? I feel like they usually say why too. Okay. So then if he didn't say why, it could be. I thought
I saw somewhere, but I couldn't find it again, that because he's getting older, but it's not like his stunts he has the full bodysuit, so he doesn't have to do any stunts. So
well, it could be that he's just like over this genre, like maybe because his kids are getting older.
Have you
maybe
seen
he's
him?
Just like,
have you seen him?
I have seen him. But Deadpool really pushes it.
But he's making Hugh Jackman come back. He's like 60.
Yeah, because he wants to end on a bang.
Yeah. All right. So here's the first story of the day. You'll like this because there's some speculation because what happened here. This is a huge power lunch at Warner Brothers. Discovery chief David Zaslav had lunch with Steven Spielberg. Later on, they're seen meeting up with CEO Peter Safran and Christopher Nolan. So people are already guessing maybe Steven Spielberg for Superman. What do you think? Obviously, we don't know, but would he be? He'd probably be a good fit.
But what is the connection with Christopher Nolan? He did Batman.
No, it's just that's just interesting. A huge power lunch because it was just let's see, David Zaslav. He's the chief for Discovery, and it was Steven Spielberg. Right. It was just them two. Okay. But then those guys show up, which means probably they're just big shots having lunch. But people are talking about, hey, maybe it's why would he? Since when does Spielberg hang out with like Warner Brothers? So
yeah, so he's obviously pitching something. Hold on, Spielberg possibly directing Superman. Well, first of all, I do think Spielberg and this power meeting does mean something. They don't mean for no reason, I don't know why. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Why it means it's Superman, but how do I feel if it?
How often has he worked with Warner Brothers? I don't think he has, right? He's Universal, right? He's
worked with Universal, and now
it's probably because people want him. It's probably because people want him to direct Superman.
Exactly, because I mean, Spielberg's done a lot of things with Universal, E.T., Jurassic Park. I'm sure I'm missing things, so I think it's more. Didn't they just merge? Didn't you just tell me that?
Who?
Or no?
DC?
Warner Brothers and no, it was DC. Sorry. Okay. Well, let's just say hypothetically, if he is, how I feel about that, I don't know. I'm a hopeful person, so I thought Ready Player One was good, but I do think that his sensibilities are different than they were before. I do try to like look at the his films and see why they're so different. Is it like the now there's more CGI, and before there wasn't. Like, should we play, like, I loved the Dark Crystal Netflix series, how they kind of merged puppetry with CGI. It was beautiful. Like, maybe that's what we're missing in film. Like, I like CGI, I think we need it, but sometimes maybe we do need to bring some puppetry and realism back. Maybe that's what's missing, but I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at it. I wouldn't be mad at it, but it would be a different.
So it sounds like you think he sucks now.
I think that he's not the same. I wouldn't use the word. I wouldn't use the word sucks. I actually really liked Ready Player One.
No, I like Ready Player One too.
But I think the one he did before that, was it The Big Giant? I know I didn't really get into, but it could also be like, you don't have to like everything a director makes. So I think his sensibilities are still there, though. But I do got two other things to say about that. One, I do think people's sensibilities have changed. In the 80s, we were evolving from a certain type of cinema. And now I feel like because everything's so hyper realistic that if things don't make sense, people hyper focus on that. You know, they're like, well, that didn't make sense. I feel like in the 80s, we didn't really do that, you know? And then two, what was I going to say? I forgot now. I had 2 points about that.
Well, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I think in your perspective, in our perspective, we were kids, so we don't question nothing. For me, I know you, I think you get annoyed with me because I'm that way. Like, that don't make sense.
Yeah,
you know?
but actually,
Like,
you're not the only one that feels that way. I feel like that's very much common right now because I do feel like people connect the dots more with cinema now, you know? Do you feel like Christopher Nolan changed the way we look at superhero movies? Like they were more silly before. And I love Tim
no,
Burton's superhero
no,
films.
no.
Not
I
for
don't
you.
think,
Okay.
no. I don't really like Christopher Nolan. He's overrated.
Oh, I do love Christopher Nolan. I don't know if he changed.
No.
I don't think he changed it for me, but I did appreciate the realistic
I
approach.
think too
But I
many.
guess Marvel doesn't really do
I
that.
Yes, because the thing. So Marvel didn't imitate him at all, and then DC. Their problem has been they've been trying to be like Christopher Nolan, and they thought, okay, well, Zack Snyder's the closest we're gonna get or something, and then he went his own way, and it's like, no. I mean, uh,
Who was the
he
closest?
made. I mean, they got Zack Snyder. Maybe they felt like he was the
Oh,
closest. They
Zack
wanted
Snyder.
because they wanted darker movies, right? So they wanted these darker movies because that's what it's perceived as dark movies. I mean, the Dark Knight. That's a great movie. That's like phenomenal. The first one is good. Like sometimes I don't like it. Sometimes I do like it. Like the first one, it's a mixed bag for me. The third one's also like it's all right. Like it's good. It's not great. He
Yeah.
made one great movie in between a trilogy, but they act like he's like a godsend and he changed stuff. It's like, not really. He did
Yeah.
something very good, but I
Yeah.
don't know. Too many
But
people try to imitate him and failed.
but even now, like we're saying, Marvel is kind of doing the light part of comic books, and they're keeping it light and keeping it safe. And I mean, maybe I do see this sense of like wanting a little bit more, you know, wanting. I don't know. A lot of times you don't hear people say like how if a movie back in the well, okay, the second thing I was going to say, now I remember, is that I do believe in movie magic. Like I do think that directors can make mistakes and they get lucky and they know that and it works. It's hard to like when you're a director, you're literally conducting and picking everything out and making sure that it all works. And you might like a actor, and then they're on screen, that connection just doesn't happen with the audience. So it's really is luck. So you know, speaking towards Steven Spielberg, you know, I do feel that I still like his stuff, but let's be honest, people do feel like his stuff has changed. They feel like maybe he doesn't have that magic anymore. But it's not him. I do think there is a little bit of luck. It's like what dad even talks about, our dad talks about basketball. You can train and train as much as you want. There's still a factor of luck to it. Or like even when you're fighting, I read this book about, you know, fighting this the team that took down Osama bin Laden. Even he said they train and train and train. We're like the best in America, but 90% of the time when they win, it's luck. And I feel like it's the same with movies. Like you could learn so much, you can do all these things, you could be, you know, really great and know and be so knowledgeable, but at the end of the day, it is movie magic. It really is movie
Yeah, I
magic.
mean, what they say about movies is the same thing they say about making a record. You don't finish it, you abandon it. And it does take some luck because it's the where it starts at with a concept or a pitch or an idea, and it goes to a script, and that script gets rewritten so many times, and then
Yeah.
there's improv, and there's a director,
Yeah.
and there's a producer, and
Yeah.
sometimes those producers are wrong, sometimes they're right, and you know, and a casting. So yeah, of course, sometimes yeah, there's a lot of luck involved, and a lot of it. Sometimes somebody just knows what they're doing, and they can save a project too. But yeah, there's a lot of luck going.
But it's a lot of pressure. I
And
think
even
that's the
just
problem
like
with Taika.
the restraints from the 80s of not having that CGI and not having that budget made it actually for better films than
Yes.
now where you get to do whatever you want. Where maybe that's why even Tarantino's still good because he doesn't really need a huge budget. Like he
Yeah.
focuses on his writing more than anything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my film's winning awards, and I didn't have a budget.
But I did like Ready Player One. That felt like old Spielberg, you know.
Yeah.
A little underrated, but anything a bunch of stuff before that, even Indiana Jones, not good.
Dude, you realize Olivia Cooke was in Ready Player One from House of Dragon.
Who she play?
She played the love
Oh,
interest.
she was a love interest. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've liked her since the Norman Bates show.
Oh, I didn't watch
Did
that.
you watch that? Bates Motel?
I got the movie. Why would I watch that?
Because it was really, she's in
It's
it.
like,
It was
did
good.
you watch?
Mama.
Like, I'm gonna watch Hannibal either. All right, and so sticking with DC, I got another rumor, but this one's probably not true. But I still want to ask. Supposedly, The Rock has been talking to James Gunn. He wants the DC to focus more on his character, Black Adam, or Gunn wants to go back to Superman. Who would you rather have? I mean, I think Superman. So who should be the focus of the next like, you know, Iron Man carried the MCU. Who should be carrying that torch for DC? I mean, I think it's
Superman.
obvious. Yeah, I think it's obvious. I know that's your favorite character, so I know what you're gonna say, but you saw the movie,
but to plead his case, though, he was there first. He has such a strong fan base too. Rock has it all. He's got Jumanji. He can wait a little bit, you know. I think we've been waiting for Henry Cavill to have a second film for so long. Like, he just deserves it.
And Black Adam is like an anti-hero, isn't he?
He's an anti-hero, yeah.
Yeah, so
but
I don't even see how he.
Well, I guess I was going to say, in a way, this Superman was too, but I think they're going back to the original kind of vision of Superman.
I hope so. I think that's what people want.
Henry Cavill said that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it. I think Steven Spielberg, he would bring a lot to it. You know?
There's one director who has not failed making a great comic book movie, who's so underrated, and that's Matthew Vaughn. He did the Kick-Ass and
I love Kick-Ass.
What's the spy movies? Like, it slips my mind, but he did First Class. That was like phenomenal.
Yes. I 100% agree.
I think he's like the only one who could do a Superman movie and deliver.
You're right.
That's what they should be looking. That's what they should be looking at. I'm tired of his spy.
Right.
What's his spy franchise?
Maybe they did approach him.
I know he's probably busy.
A lot of these directors don't like working with these big studios because they don't let them have the creative freedom.
Usually what they do, though, for stuff like that, when they don't want to work with big studios, they'll give them the smaller picture on the side. So Colin Trevorrow, he had the Lost World, the Jurassic Park, whatever, and then he did that small movie. The small movie bombed, unfortunately, but sometimes, you know, they'll give him, hey, we'll let you do your passion project if you do this project plus a lot of.
What was the smaller film?
Book of Eli. And then they took him out of the Star Wars trilogy after that. Colin Trevorrow. I mean, that was better for him. That Star Wars trilogy was awful anyway. So, thanks to your boy.
But for the director, though, I get it that the fans may not have liked it, but for him, like, how cool would it have been to be? I'm sure as a Star Wars
it would have been cool, but there was a no-win situation after that second movie, which was god awful. There was no way fixing it. So.
Because he was supposed to do
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, that's right. Okay.
No.
He was supposed to do Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Last Jedi ruling any chance of Rise of Skywalker being good. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Terrible movie. Anyways, I don't get to that. All right. We can. All right, let's get to the next story
another time.
So you might like this. I don't know. Are you a fan of Ana de Armas?
Yeah, I like her.
She just did Blonde. She's getting a John Wick spinoff, and Keanu Reeves and Ian McShane are actually going to be in it. What do you think about that?
Dang.
Pretty cool. Women empowerment. You like that?
Yeah. But I mean
what?
I just hope it's done well. I don't know. It's hard because I just saw Blonde, and I'm not too happy with how they represented Marilyn Monroe. I think she did phenomenal.
Yeah,
but
she's getting praise. It's just that was the vision of the director on that one.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel. I don't know. We'll see. I
If
mean,
it's good as a regular John Wick movie and we got
if it's
her,
good,
I don't mind seeing that.
if it, yeah, I'm hopeful. I feel like for me, I feel better when we find new original projects than when we're doing spin-offs because they don't
Mm.
typically work, but I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm always hopeful. So,
You're
and I
right,
do like
but
Ana de Armas.
yeah, I mean for her, since she's been in the industry a while and she hasn't technically broken out, there always people always act like she's so close. Instead of doing like original, since it's a spin-off and Keanu's gonna be in it, this might be the best thing for her. Especially since she
Oh
did
yeah.
get praise. She got praised for Blonde, but then it was like the director, was like, I guess he went too far or whatever. I didn't see it, so.
Oh, I mean, I would. Yeah, you should watch it. I don't know. I
All
didn't. I
right.
mean, I think if you're a fan of Marilyn Monroe, it wasn't a best representation of her. And in a way, I guess there's a part of me that wishes that. I mean, I know Anna had no control, but I wish she would have maybe told them like, let's include the fact that she was a movie producer, that she was one of the that she studied acting, she was a hard worker. That's there's a lot of reports on that. Like they were so focused on like making her look like this tragedy, and there are tragic elements to her life, but she was a survivor too. So, I don't know. Anyway.
All right. Think this one's gonna get you pumped. All right. Let's see. So, Studio Ghibli. You know Studio Ghibli?
Yes.
All right. So they tweeted a logo of themselves and Lucasfilm on the official Star Wars Twitter.
Ooh, just
That
them,
could be
just like a
just the
teaser.
logos. Yeah, just the logos on the
Wow.
official Star Wars Twitter. That's pretty crazy.
Wow. That's exciting. That's really cool to me. Did you watch Visions? No, probably
Visions.
not.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, Visions was an animated series, a Star Wars series. You might like it. It was actually like, I don't know if you saw the Gendry Tartakovsky. I don't know, I'm mispronouncing his name, but the original Clone Wars that came out on the Cartoon Network years ago, way before the
Yeah.
computer. Oh, okay. Well,
Oh,
I like this.
before the computer. Oh, like yeah, kind of remember those. Yeah.
He's actually a very celebrated animator even now. He has Primal, which I hear is popular. But anyways, I would say Visions is more to that sensibilities. I think a lot of it is hand drawn, but it's really cool. It has like more Asian sensibilities to it, and has these unique dark storylines that I think was I know people don't like that Star Wars is really like getting away from like what it was, but comic books did that. It's such a big do that. Comic books do that, but Star Wars is such a big brand now that having different genres I think is kind of cool.
I just wonder if I don't know the director's what's his name. How do you say
Hayao
Miyazaki?
Miyazaki, yeah,
Is he actually going to be because he's supposed to be retiring? I think he has one more movie coming out.
yeah,
Or so I wonder if it's going to be. Is this? I know this is not the movie that was supposed to be coming out.
right.
So is he going to be involved, or is
I
it
was
just a
wondering that too when
studio?
you said that because he's not
So,
filming
I
anymore.
mean,
He's not
I'm
doing it
just
anymore.
curious what they're going to do because their stuff, which I love, but it looks a certain way and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just curious what kind of story they're going to do. But I want to see it.
Well, I want to see it. Yeah, I think that his sensibilities are similar to what George Lucas' sensibilities were. It's the hero's journey. It's about hope. There's darkness. There's always a character that's struggling with something. So I feel like there's some sensibilities are very aligned. So I'm excited, and I'm sure they're going to use that type of animation. That's cool.
Did you watch that interview I told you to watch?
No,
John Lennon. You didn't watch it?
no,
What the heck, dude?
you can watch it now.
No. What are you aware? So are you even aware of John Landis and the Twilight Zone accident?
No, what happened?
Well, I knew about this, but I never seen his how he felt about it. But when he filmed Twilight Zone, which I think was like '83, maybe when I was born, he had an actor and two kids, where they weren't even supposed to be by law not working at night and on a dangerous he had explosions going off, and a helicopter came down and cut Vic Morrow's head off and one of the kids, and the other kid was crushed to death by the helicopter. It's pretty bad.
Oh my god.
What I was surprised, which I knew, what I was surprised about when I was watching the movies that made us, and it comes up for it's obviously cut what he says, but it comes up, and he just he says it's a tragedy, but his demeanor and everything was like he didn't really seem that bad about it.
As the crew watched in horror early this morning, actor Vic Morrow and 2 Vietnamese children were killed.
On July 23rd, 1982, as John Landis was directing the Twilight Zone movie, a helicopter stunt went wrong, killing 3 people, including 2 children.
The Twilight Zone filmmakers took heat for their abuse of child labor laws.
Landis was charged by the DA's office with manslaughter.
Landis became the first Hollywood director to be tried for death on a movie set.
The tragedy, that was horrible. But after the tragedy, you read that, it affected my career and I never worked again. And I don't understand why they say that. I made some of my most successful movies after that, but...
During the long wait between the accidents and the trial, John directed several...
So I started, and his whole demeanor during the interview was like super pompous and everything, narcissistic, and I was... So like, usually when you bring up something tragic like that, you would pause the music and be like, heartfelt, like that was really bad, it's a tragedy or whatever. No, he just kind of, that was a tragedy, like what? And then so I started researching it.
Nonchalant.
Yeah, nonchalant, and like he's actually never really apologized or took responsibility for it.
Wow.
In fact, when you watch the documentary of Coming to America, he's actually taking it out on. What's his name, Murphy, Eddie Murphy, for not coming to his defense in the trial. So when he was working with him, he was mad at him because he didn't come to his defense of the trial that he's a good person. Like he wasn't there when the accident happened. It doesn't matter. You just need to come into your defense. But I was just surprised. Like he's really something else. Like, and I don't know if you know his son, Max Landis.
Yeah.
He's a piece of work. He don't fall from far from the tree. Have you met him or what?
No, but I liked the movie he did, which was that superhero where the kids get superpowers.
Yeah, he hasn't done nothing relevant since Chronicle, but
Chronicle,
well, he has a lot of allegations against him about can't say the R word, can't say it on YouTube. R word and the physical violence. It's a long story. You can't say that on YouTube. But
yeah, I've noticed that when people comment, they don't say it, but I didn't know.
He's got a lot of really bad accusations against him, and you can tell he's a personality too. So apple don't fall from the tree. But I was just surprised because I liked Landis. I thought he was underrated. People don't really John Landis, and I wanted to recommend his movie right here at the end. His movie Oscar, which I'm still gonna recommend. Even though I don't like him anymore, I'm gonna recommend Oscar. I don't know if you remember that movie with Stallone.
Yeah, I loved that movie.
I love that movie too, and I'm gonna rewatch it because the cast is. I was looking at the cast like that's Tim Curry, like what a phenomenal cast.
Marissa
Tomei was like one of her earliest films, and
a
lot of great actors. I remember being really funny, and he's good in it. He's probably probably not as good as some. Maybe they could have casted somebody else, but he's still good in it. That was a good movie.
Yeah. See, those are films like that I feel like don't survive today, or
that's why I'm recommending it.
Yeah.
And I'll probably recommend another John Landis movie next week, but fuck him. But you should still watch him. Other people worked on the movie besides him, so like you said, it's lucky,
Yeah, well, that's my thing too. Is that I feel like, Joss Whedon. I loved Joss Whedon. Yeah. I had no idea that he was treating women like shit,
Which is surprising because he empowered them so much, and they're like, what's going on?
Like, he did empower them in his films. So, and he had a lot of female leads, and I love the way he wrote. I love the way he wrote because he had this ability to be campy but good and fun. Like,
are those verified? Are those stories verified though?
In what sense?
Like, did somebody come with actual proof, or it was just he said, she said?
Well, so for example, the Buffy cast, they all verified each other. All the women said that he was shitty to them. Like the one actress, I think Michelle Trachtenberg, maybe, or no, maybe the other one, Cordelia. I think Cordelia, when she got pregnant, I guess he like yelled at her for getting pregnant
Jesus.
and told her that he's gonna have to fire her now. It was just
What a
bullshit.
douchebag.
Yes, and apparently the young girl Michelle Trachtenberg, I think her name is Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah, I
When
know
she
this.
so when she was cast, the other girls protected her and warned her about him. Like
Wow.
it was just a whole thing that he's just an asshole, and it's so disappointing. Especially that
disappointing.
one, like closing the door and yelling at her because she was pregnant, is just like wow. And then I'm kind of disappointed that it's Gal Gadot's choice, but I wish she would comment about what was said about her situation, and she won't comment on it.
When did he work with her?
So Ray Fisher, right? Is that his name? Because he was
Yeah.
cut out. Cyborg was cut out of. So he came out. I think it was him. But anyways,
Yeah,
reports
no.
came out. Well, anyways, reports.
No.
It's not about him.
Okay, because he's not credible. I'm sorry, he's not credible.
Well, anyways, this isn't about him. I'm more disappointed in how he treats women, actually. So apparently,
oh, that's right. He took over Justice League. That's right.
yes, and when the Flash fell on her, she didn't want to do that part. He yelled at her. He said, "You're never going to work in Hollywood again," and that was corroborated by a few people.
Wow.
But she won't talk about it. She won't even. But she also won't say that it didn't happen. At least there's that.
Are you sure that's true? Because when I saw, they worked it out and it wasn't as bad. So that was the official statement, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But then when you look back, people have shown he's done it multiple times. He did it to Scarlett Johansson too. Like he just thinks that that's and it's good for Gal Gadot saying she doesn't want to do that.
Fuck him. Well, fuck him then. What
But
movie
it's just disappointing.
do you want to recommend a Joss Whedon film?
A Joss Whedon film?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man.
What do you want to recommend?
No.
I'm just kidding. Well, Buffy, the movies we were just watching, that was great. But
oh yeah, Buffy.
Luke Perry.
Yeah. And the thing is, I would actually read about him and his interviews and follow his career to see how he did it. And like, he was doing movies and TV shows. I mean, Firefly. I'm wearing a Firefly shirt right now.
Actually, yeah, Firefly was fucking great. That was what
Firefly's amazing.
Ripped off my anime, but that was a great show.
Oh, it's such a great show.
What was it called? It ripped off Outlaw Star, which I think he finally admitted, but that was a great show.
Ripped off what?
It's an anime called Outlaw Star. It takes place in space, and there's a specific scene in that anime where the woman is in a suitcase, and I think she's like cyborg-ish or something, but she's in a suitcase and everything. Very similar.
Okay.
I'm sure there was other stuff that he took from there.
He still had to write he still had to develop the whole show and these characters and direct it and all of that. I mean, and Nathan Fillion is just so great as Mal. Like, it's just such a perfect show. It's so, and the films are so good. The one film, Serenity
was great. Yeah.
Yeah. I would recommend Serenity. I saw Serenity before I even knew there was a show.
Oh, seriously?
And
yes, it's so different. It's so different in tone because Serenity is so dark, and then the show wasn't. The show is a little bit different.
But I remember watching Serenity. I was like, "This is what sci-fi should be. This is so cool." And then I forget
it's like it's a really good small film that we'll probably never get any more now.
Huh?
We'll probably never get any more now.
So disappointing about him. It's just like you people have these great opportunities and like you tell
they could bring it back without him, but they could bring it back without. They can bring it back without him.
Yeah, but could they really do his? I think James Gunn probably could do something similar to him.
I think
maybe Taika, but Taika's silly.
I think he could be more serious. I think they could probably make a better version of anything. See, when that pilot died though, that hit me harder because I watched the show. I was like, what the. I don't know if you remember, but I was like, "What the heck?"
for which one? For Serenity? For
Serenity, the pilot dies in it. Alan Tudyk.
Oh, because you watched this.
Yeah,
because you watched this show.
Yeah, I was like, "What the
fuck?" No, it didn't hit me that hard.
Yeah, imagine.
No, I got to go back and be like, "Oh, he's alive. He's great."
Right.
Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, Alan Tudyk. Yeah.
Who's so great in Star Wars as K2SO.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what movie I would recommend?
You just recommended Serenity.
I would recommend Serenity.
Yeah.
I would
All right, let's close it. Let's close it out now.
Okay.
That's gonna be it for this week.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Should we do another welcome? Because I feel like, did we really do a welcome?
Yeah, I introduced us.
You did? Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll come back to the podcast.
Every Monday.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Peace.